I remember there was a period I had a very good friend of mine, and we got involved into country music, which may sound a bit bizarre for a kid in Italy at that time. And actually, that was the way I got in touch with Bruce Springsteen, because as I told you, I had this CD in my home. It was Ghost of Tom Joad, and I knew nothing about Bruce Springsteen. And actually, I thought it was a country songwriter. I started listening to that CD, and the more I listened to it, the more I found that something was resonating in me, and I really fell in love with that album. And to be honest, it is a bit weird, probably, that a teenager falls in love with the Ghost of Tom Joad. You would expect probably like Born in the USA or something like that. But that's actually the way I got in touch with Bruce. And I remember my father telling me, well, Bruce Springsteen is a great storyteller. Every song is like a short story on its own. And that's actually what it is. And so, after that, I thought that Bruce was a country songwriter. Then
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Set Lusting Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. Joining me is a new online friend. It is 3 o'clock here in Dallas, and what time is it there for you, Carlo?
It's actually 9 p.m. here in Italy. I'm from Milan, close to Milan, actually.
Okay.
Have you ever been here, Jesse?
Well, I am so glad you're here. I am so glad that you're giving up a little bit of your Saturday night to visit. It is awesome to have you all the way from Milan joining me. So let's get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, thank you very much, Jesse. It's a pleasure for me to be here. Really, I love the podcast. I often listen to it, so it's a great pleasure. Great. So, what can I say about myself? I'm from Italy, as you may hear from my accent, and I am a father of two and husband of one. My kids are 3 years old, and I have just a newborn. It's like almost 3 months.
Okay.
And so I'm pretty busy with them. And I am a physicist by education, and I actually spent many years in my career working in academia. I did a PhD in physics, then I spent about five years in Dublin.
Okay.
Working in college, and now I'm working as a data scientist on a consulting firm here in Italy.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Do you travel a lot with the job, or do you spend mostly, there locally?
Okay, when I was working in academia, I used to travel a lot. I actually traveled to the US twice. Maybe it's not too much, but it's good for me.
Yeah.
I've been to Boston, to Colorado, which was amazing. Mm-hmm. And nowadays, I mostly travel in Italy or close to Italy, in close countries.
Okay.
And but clearly, since almost 2 years, I'm not traveling. I'm just at home, as most of us.
Sure. So tell me a little bit, growing up, what type of, where did you grow up, and what kind of music were your family listening to when you were, young?
All right, I grew up here it's a small city close to Milan. It's a sort of suburb of Milan.
Yeah.
I always lived here. My family didn't move likely too much around. And I was just a boy living in like this small city, small town, I would say. And luckily my family was kind of filled with music. So I remember like traveling like to the mountains or to the sea with my father, turning on some music on the car, or at home we had a very good sound like hi-fi, and so he used to put on music. Like what kind of music? I remember some authors like Elton John, Paul Simon, what other? Bob Dylan. I remember listening to it. And Mark Knopfler, the Notting Hill Blues. I remember that album. It was on quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then other Italian songwriters. Do you know some Italian songwriter, Jesse?
I probably don't, but please share. I'm sure my audience may.
Yeah, they made. Well, probably Zucchero.
Okay.
Have you ever? Yeah, and then there are other very good musicians like Francesco De Gregori is a very good one. Lucio Dalla, Bocelli is probably very famous also abroad. Yeah, so my house was filled with music, and also I remember my father was he studied music when he was young, and then he was a director of a choir in the parish. So music was an important part in my life since I was a kid, and among the CDs that my father used to play, there was one which was one by Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
And that CD was the Ghost of Tom Joad. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was my first contact with Bruce Springsteen.
What did you talk to me a little bit about? As you started getting older, like a teenager, what kind of music did you enjoy?
Okay. I was a teenager in the 90s. So, MTV was really rising and was very popular. In my early teens, I was still looking for my true self. I would say I was a bit confused as all teenagers are. Maybe I would try to follow what the radio would propose or would play, and also what other like my peers, my friends at school used to listen. I don't really remember. It was the time of the boy bands.
Yes.
Like Take That, this kind of stuff. I've never got into that very much.
Okay.
And when I grew a bit older, still in the teenage, I remember I was a bit of, I would not say, I wouldn't completely fit into my, let's say, into the way other people were at the time. So I was trying sort of finding my own personality, my own what I really liked in my life. So, and I remember there was a period I had a very good friend of mine, and we got involved into country music, which may sound a bit bizarre for a kid in Italy at that time. And actually, that was the way I got in touch with Bruce Springsteen, because as I told you, I had this CD in my home. It was the Ghost of Tom Joad, and I knew nothing about Bruce Springsteen. And actually, I thought it was a country songwriter. I started listening to that CD, and the more I listened to it, the more I found that something was resonating in me, and I really fell in love with that album. And to be honest, it is a bit weird probably that a teenager falls in love with the Ghost of Tom Joad. You would expect probably like Born in the USA or something like that. But that's actually the way I got in touch with Bruce. And I remember my father telling me, Well, Bruce Springsteen is a great storyteller. Every song is like a short story on its own, and that's actually what it is. And so, after that, I thought that Bruce was a country songwriter. Then, I had a great years because every time I would go to the music shop and buy a new Bruce Springsteen album. And then I went to my room, I put it on my stereo, and bam, listen to new Bruce Springsteen music, and I was amazed. Really, in my teenage years, that's where I discovered all the richness of Bruce's music.
Yeah.
And that was a great period.
So what's I think interesting is I have a good friend, Nick Pizzangio, who hosts he is also in Italy, and he hosts a internet whiskeys and cigarette show, which focuses on country music. So I now have two Italian friends, both loving country music, which is funny.
Okay.
Yeah. So Carlo, can you articulate why Bruce spoke to you so much, why you loved his music?
What does speak to me about Bruce? Well, the thing is that since I discovered him, there was some part of me which was resonating with his words, with his music. I found his lyrics so deep, so great, and I actually thought that he sort of knew me better than myself. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and so why I am a fan of Bruce Springsteen? I don't really like the word fan because it reminds me too much like of being fan like of a football team or whatever. But I think that my interest with Bruce, my love with Bruce Springsteen's music is something more like I would say deeper, okay? Because I feel like a deep connection of his music to my spirit, let's say, because it goes deep into what goes. It's basically targeting. His music targets what's very deep at the bottom of a man's heart. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I always like to preface this, and if you've heard the podcast, you know that's true. How many times you've seen Bruce is not a fair barometer of how big of a fan you are. But have you been able to see him live? And if so, how many times?
Okay, I think I've seen him live about 15 times.
Okay.
Which really doesn't reach the level of your previous guests, definitely. But yeah, it's a decent number, and I'm really looking forward to having the chance of seeing once again, at least.
Yeah.
And let me say something else about your previous question.
Yeah.
It's something that strikes me a lot. You know that Springsteen always says that he has two sides: an Italian side, which is the more rousy, the more happy, we say, sunny side of him.
Right.
And then he has his Irish side,
Yeah.
which is the more, let's say, introspective, reflexive, and this is also reflected on the kind of music, okay?
Yes.
You can think of Bright albums, the Italian ones, I don't know, maybe Born in the USA, I don't know, Born to Run, and whatever. And then you have I would call them the Irish, or the more, reflexive ones, which are the solo albums, the Ghost of Tom Joad, Devils and Dust, and I will also count into that the second last album, which is
No.
Sorry, what's the name of the second last album? I can't recall.
Letter to You?
No, that's the last one.
Okay.
The previous one.
Western Stars?
Western Stars, definitely, yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
That's embarrassing. And also Western Star, which is one of my favorites, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so I thought if I had to choose between among the two sides, I would definitely go for the Irish side.
Okay.
You know, being a bit more introverted and reflexive myself, I feel touched by those albums, to be honest.
Yeah.
And also, if you have to think about concerts, I think I know everyone is looking forward to a full band show in big stadiums and so on. I tend to prefer like little small venues, just Bruce and his guitar and so on. And in fact, I would really like to go to the Springsteen Broadway show, but actually I couldn't.
Yeah. Did when I think that's interesting because he does talk a lot about the his two sides, his Irish side, his Italian side. So I think that's interesting that you kind of bring that up and the two different sides of his music and you preferring one versus the other. I think that's really a beautiful sentiment. Did you what do you think, why do you think the Irish side speaks more to you?
Yeah, probably it speaks more to me because the way I am a calm person, I'm a reflexive person, maybe sometimes introvert, and I feel that the Irish side is a more spiritual side, I would say. Yeah. And in fact, another thing that amazes me is that lately in some recent interviews, he has called himself a spiritual songwriter.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that this definition perfectly fits his music, his persona. So he's really someone that connects deeply to the spirit of people. Okay. And that's really why I like his music. It's not just being, what I look for when I go to a concert, okay, it's having fun, definitely. And so, yeah, when you go to San Siro in Milan, 60,000 people, so definitely you have fun. But I look for something more, something deeper, and his music really is able to touch chords or strings of my soul that really nobody else can do.
Okay, good. Do you where all have you seen Bruce perform live at?
Okay, the first time I've seen him live was in 2003 in Milan, San Siro. That was an incredible night. I remember I was so excited to see him for the first time. I couldn't believe it. So, when he's in Italy, you will hear some, the entrance on the stage is done with the music of Ennio Morricone. Yeah. And so the music of Ennio Morricone starts, and after a while you see the members of the band one after the other get in the stage, and at the end when it enters Bruce, whoa, it's incredible. And there was a magic moment in my life, the first time I've seen him live, and I would actually cry that night when I saw him. Yeah. And that was a fantastic night, really. I remember it was memorable because at some point there was such a big rain, and we were all completely soaked in rain. And he was just, to show that he was one of us, he actually got out in the rain. The stage has some protection from the rain, but he was also completely soaked with rain. And yeah, that was the first time. I've seen most of the time when it comes to Italy, I tend to go to as many shows as I can. The only time I seen him abroad was in Paris once and in Dublin. Actually, I lived there for a while.
Okay, very interesting. Yeah. So what is talk to me about some of your favorite albums and songs. What has mean a lot to you?
Okay, that's a good question. I would say that probably my favorite album, given us because it's the album that let me discover Bruce Springsteen, is definitely the Ghost of Tom Joad. I love the short stories that you have in each and every song is like a story of its own, and it's like because I'm also in love with American literature.
Okay.
And I find that these stories are they completely fit into the great American writers. Okay. Definitely, I would say my favorite song is Across the Border.
Oh, okay.
Also, because of this meaning, the meaning to, it's really a song of hope, probably the best song of hope of Bruce Springsteen. And that's always been my favorite. Then what can I say? I love most of the albums of Bruce Springsteen. There's no one I would say I don't like. Lately, I would say that definitely Western Stars is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Because it's really close it's really close to. It's a sort of concept album, you know. It's all built around a central idea, okay? And it's a very coherent album. That's why I love it. And definitely also The Rising is one that I love. Also for the same reason, because it's a sort of concept album. It's all coherent, and it's all about rising, resurrection, to make it through life, even though like you have all sort of problems or which are bigger than you. And My City of Ruins is definitely one of the best songs of that album in my opinion. And that's such a powerful album. I love it.
Yeah.
Not to tell the early albums but it's banal. Everyone loves I don't know, Born to Run or Darkness of the Edge of Town, The River. Those are masterpieces.
Yeah, they really are. I agree with you. I really love Western Stars. It feels like a collection of short stories, you know, similar, and it is in its own way a very country album, you know, a country pop album, but still a country album. I agree. So I could see why you'd love that. I love it too.
And what's your favorite song from that album?
A couple of Western Stars. I love Tucson Train. I love Hello Sunshine, and Sleepy Joe's Cafe. So I guess if I had to pick those would be my top three. Okay. Like Western Stars itself, I think the idea that, you know, this aging actor, you know, who kind of never made it big time, but still has, you know, has been fairly successful, or, you know, a moderate success. I think it's just an interesting discussion. Really, really interesting discussion. And a great character. Yeah. What were your thoughts on Letter to You?
My thoughts on Letter to You, I think it's a great album, definitely. Probably is the best history band album since the Rising.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that.
That's great, yeah.
I really love it. There's great songs in it. to be honest, I know often you ask your hosts if they prefer Western Star versus Letter to You.
Right.
I will definitely go for Western Stars.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think it's a more coherent piece of work. Whereas, I mean, Letter to You, yes, it's also coherent, but also the presence of old songs. I think they don't completely fit into the mood of the album. Okay. That's an album. Letter to You is an album that is meditating about loss, about death, and that's great that he as a songwriter is so open to his audience to write basically a letter to them and talk with no problems about death, about aging and growing old at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I really love the title track. That's amazing. It's a very good song.
Yeah.
And let me see. What's the? Well, I really, really, really love the song Ghosts.
Yeah.
Which I would really like to see live.
Yeah.
To hear live.
I agree.
I See You in My Dreams is amazing. It's a great song. Very simple words, but it's so powerful. And I mean, seeing John Landau in tears in the video, in the film, was also putting myself in tears. It was amazing. It's a great song. Burning Train, I like it. I like it. Yeah, it's a very good rock and roll song.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean the three songs of the early years, like Jenny is a Shooter, If I Was the Priest, and what's the last one, Song for Orphans. They are just, I would say, masterpieces, but I feel that they don't completely fit the 70 years Bruce. I don't know. That's just my feeling.
Okay. No. I think that's a very I don't agree with I agree with you on a couple of them, but for some reason, If I Was the Priest just really works for me. I don't know if it's just his voice and then Steven's, solo at the end. It's really, really an interesting song. I do think I agree with you. I loved watching the video and them kind of all together working on this album together and seeing how they all interact. People that have been friends for years and then just spending time together, working together is just something really beautiful.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I appreciate a lot that lately he's basically accompanying the CDs with a video, with a film. That's something I really appreciate because I like him guiding us through his music, explaining what's the thoughts behind the music and what he actually thinks about his music. They're really wonderful, really. And also Tom Zimney is a great filmmaker.
Yeah, he really is. I'm excited about seeing what he does with the with the No Nukes concert, right? To taking that and doing it. So
you know what? I'm not so excited about. I mean, I'm not so excited about looking backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great to have a decent film of one of the greatest Bruce Springsteen concerts ever, probably.
Yeah.
But I would be more excited to have new music, new materials.
Sure.
So I'd love to hear what today's Bruce Springsteen has to say to us.
No, that's a good point. I can see that. I've been asking a lot of people this. What do you think is going to be when he tours next year? Do you think he'll do a lot of Letter to You? Do you think he'll do more a career retrospective, a greatest hits kind of tour? What do you think he's going to do?
Okay, what I would like to hear is definitely, I would say maybe 70% of the concert based on new materials. So split half in half, Western Stars and Letter to You. That would be great, definitely. And then the rest, as usual, the iconic songs. They cannot but do that every time. But what I think it will be, I think probably he will start the way I said, so with more, initially he will probably start with new materials, but then, as usual, the more the tour goes on, the more the focus is on the old materials, the established ones, the established material.
Okay.
And yeah, sadly for me, because I would really like to hear new songs.
Okay, yeah. Very nice.
And definitely, I think that, I mean, because the band is aging, he's aging, so my feeling is that that will be probably the last time he will have a chance to go touring with the street band. So it will probably be an street band tour. Although I would prefer like a solo tour, or I would have been amazed of if he went to tour, if he went touring with for the Western Stars.
Okay.
To promote the Western Stars CD album.
What are songs that you haven't heard live that you want to? And obviously Western Stars would be a great of them, right? Like you would love some Western Stars songs, but what are other songs that you haven't got to hear that you think you would love to hear live?
Yeah, I've thought about that. Let me start with a Western Star song, which is my favorite one, which is Chasing White Horses.
Oh, great song.
I really moves me to tears every time I listen to it.
Yeah.
It's a great song. There is another song, which is definitely not one of his most popular songs, which is Dry Lightning, you know, from the Ghost of Tom Joad. And I think that they are two songs that have a lot of points in common. They both talk about losers in life, so people who are lost in life.
Yeah.
They may sound as desperate song, but at the end of the day, I think that although there's a lot of desperation, there is still some. Well, they tell very sad stories, but there is still some piece of hope in them that makes them so interesting to me. Anyway, apart from these two, I would like to hear Blood Brothers. I've never.
Oh, that would be lovely. Yeah.
I love that song. That is one of my favorites. I'd like to hear Back in Your Arms. Never had a chance. And Mary Queen of Arkansas. And Santana, you know.
So are you helping raise, I know you have a newborn, so that's a little early, but your your oldest, are you getting them used to listening to Bruce music?
Yeah, I do. I actually expose him to a moderate amount of Bruce Springsteen music. When he was younger, like 2 years old, he really liked it. I used to sing him like Pony Boy, and he would watch the whole Western Stars movie. He really likes Tucson Train, and but now he's not anymore into it very much. But I still hope that he will appreciate Bruce Springsteen when he gets older, let's say. And I would really love sometime to bring him to see him live. It would be great. I had a chance to bring my wife to a concert in 2013, I guess. That was also amazing.
That was my next question. Is your lovely bride a casual fan, or is she as a big fan as you?
Well, she's not a big fan, but I actually, since we knew, I always talked about her, talk her about Bruce Springsteen, why I love it so much, and little by little, she has also grown as a fan. She is not mad as me, but she really likes him. Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, we got the chance to go to a concert together just once. So I hope sooner or later we'll have a chance to go to another concert together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're all pushing for that and caring for that. Good.
Yeah.
Are there any other stories about seeing shows or music you want to share with the audience?
Let me see. I think that I actually attended a number of concerts of the Secret Session bands. One of the best ones was in Verona. You know Verona? It's a wonderful city. And the show was in a wonderful place. It's the Arena of Verona. It's an ancient Roman arena, which is wonderful. And I got the chance to go in the pit, just in front, the very first line, and that was amazing. And actually, on that occasion, I think that Bruce has performed for the first and only time in his life, Samson and Delilah. You know the song?
Yes.
That was the unique world premiere, and probably that was the only time he played that song. That was great. And then I remember after the show, I was hanging around in Verona with a friend of mine, and we got a chance to meet most of the players of the Secret Session band. So
nice.
It was great because we had a chance to talk to each other, and they're really good guys.
Yeah, that sounds
nice. That was nice. And then there is another interesting story. I was in Dublin, and on that period, it was in summer, probably summer 2014. On that period, Jessica Springsteen, she's a horse rider.
Yes.
And there is a very famous horse show which is held in Dublin. And I think Bruce Springsteen was there because his daughter was riding. He had some races, some competitions there. Once I got back from the college, I got home, and after having dinner, I just went out to do a walk. I'm walking, and on the patio of a restaurant, guess who I found?
Oh, no.
There was Bruce Springsteen, Paris Kalfa, and Jessica Springsteen that was just having fun, having like an appetizer with other friends.
Oh, nice.
And that was amazing. And then I say, my heart started beating a lot.
Sure.
And I say, what can I do to just say hi to Bruce Springsteen? And actually, I waited there for like half an hour. They got into the restaurant. And then that was amazing. After some time, Bruce Springsteen goes out of the restaurant on its own. Like just to have a short walk, to take a breath, And so I go next to him and I say, well, Bruce, I don't even remember what I said actually because I was so excited, so out of myself. But definitely I'm sure I thanked him for his music because it changed my life. And we had a chance to take a picture together. It was really amazing.
Oh, good. That's nice to hear.
Yeah. And let me tell you, I think that this story is also in his book, the autobiography, because it says that he has a lot of depression periods. There is somewhere in the book he tells that he was in a restaurant in Dublin and he was really overwhelmed at some point that he had to go out and take a breath because he couldn't stand with other people.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's that in that occasion that I met him.
Okay.
He actually mentioned he was in a restaurant in Dublin that year, so that's probably the time.
That's very cool. Yeah. The anything else you want to share? Other stories?
Well, I don't have probably other notable stories about Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
I mean, every concert is a story on its own. But actually, let me say another story is that I spent nights actually to get some tickets. That was the Davis and Us tour. I remember that me and a friend of mine actually slept outside in the center of Milan one night to be just in front line when the ticket office would open. That was kind of mad. And also there's all other mad story about concerts because we always try to be in front row on the pit, you know.
Sure.
Doesn't it? Yeah. And so you have to get up very early. Sometimes you have to join the line the day before the actual concert.
Yeah.
So I got lots of nice stories.
Oh, good. Very nice. Well, you know, I often say that what I want is this podcast to feel like that we're in line together, listening to stories that, you know, while we're waiting to get into the show. So that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, let me say that, to be honest, it's been weird. It's a sort of, I don't know, psychological loophole, but Bruce Springsteen is definitely not the music I listen to the most. Okay. Probably because I don't want to corrupt it too much in my head. Okay. I used to listen to a lot of other music. One of my other greatest, my favorite musicians is Glenn Hansard. You know him?
No. Who?
You don't know Glenn Hansard. Glenn Hansard is an Irish musician.
Okay.
He was in his early years a busker, you know. He just would play on the streets. And at some point, I think it was 2007, he was he plays the central role of a movie which is called hold on a second, just one moment, let me see, you know, that's the excitement of the moment. I don't remember the what's the name of the movie? Well, I'll let you. Once. So simple. Once.
Okay. Yes.
And it's a movie that talks about a busker, and he plays the role of a busker. And this is done in collaboration with another singer who is she's Marketa Eglova. She's a chess singer. And together it's a love story of him and her. It's set in Dublin, and it's an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it before, please do, because it's great. And Glenn Hansard is another great performer. Yeah. As much as Bruce Springsteen, and he actually shared the stage with Bruce Springsteen some years ago in Ireland. You know.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Good. I really recommend that you check it. It's amazing.
I will do that. All right. Yes, so go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Then there's other great musicians I love. One who is not very popular is James Maddock. You ever heard about him? Probably not. No,
I haven't, but go ahead.
Yeah, he's not so popular, but I think it's he's very, let's say, close to Bruce Springsteen in terms of songwriting, the songwriting style, and there's a great song which is Sunrise on Avenue C, which is also the title of one of his album, and this is it's a sort of love declaration to New York, which I think it is close to New York City Serenade in some terms. So yeah, James Maddock is another great one. Then I don't know, I love Sarah Jarosz, which is probably more popular, Aoife O'Donovan, Gillian Welsh, Jackson Browne, and lots of other American songwriters.
Yeah, Carlo, I love how diverse your fandom is, right? Like as much as you love Bruce, you have other interests in other music that you're loving and finding. I tend to not do that as much as I should. I tend to, I love Jason Isbell, I love John Hyatt, I love obviously the Beach Boys and Brian Wilson, but I often don't find a lot of new artists anymore. I tend to, whatever extra time I have, I do on podcasts, and then but every once in a while I find a new artist. I go, oh, I really want to explore more of this and hear that. So good for you for continuing to expand and push your knowledge of music. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what? Let's move to the Mary question. If you're Carlo's friend and you're listening to this, first off, thank you. I really appreciate you supporting your friend. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. We end every episode with the Mary question. And what the Mary question is Jay Armstrong, who is the retired honors English teacher in the Philadelphia area, would spend 2 days with his seniors breaking apart Thunder Road as a poem, going through all the lyrics, talk about the imagery that Bruce uses, discuss all the things that and discuss what Bruce is trying to say and what they're trying to build. And then at the end of the 2 days, they would ask the class the question, does Mary get in the car? So, Carlo, that is your question. Does Mary get in the car?
Okay, I'm a bit thrilled about this. To be honest, I've been talking about this with my wife in the past days, and she was arguing, well, of course she gets in the car. She cannot but get in the car after that song. And for this reason, I was trying to find all the possible arguments against this.
Okay.
And probably what I would say is that she doesn't get in the car because there's no memories there. Because you can think about that song about him posing in his room and trying to figure out a sort of discourse, something to tell to the girl he will probably meet sometime in the future. Okay, that's my take on this.
I love it.
But of course,
I think that is greatness. That is a good answer, and I appreciate it. Carlo, are you on social media at all?
Yes, I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook and Twitter mostly.
What's your Twitter handle?
CMOTTA84.
All right. Very nice.
Yeah.
Good. Any final thoughts before I get you and let you enjoy the rest of your night?
Well, no, it's been great to talk to you. Really, I really appreciate you calling me.
Oh.
And maybe let me just add one thing that is related to Bruce. So I think that Bruce Springsteen opened me to like other landscapes. And one of my passion is American literature, as I probably mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And so, thanks to Bruce Springsteen, I was able to find and to get in love with a lot of authors like John Steinbeck,
Yeah.
The Ghost of Tom Joad, and of course, it's related to that. Also, Flannery O'Connor, which is an inspiration for Nebraska, as he has said in the past. like the song "A Good Man Is Hard to Find."
Yeah.
That's actually the title of a short story by her. I also love noirs like Jim Thompson, which I know he's also a favorite of Bruce. And also I love Cormac McCarthy. You know him?
No, I don't.
He's probably one of the best writer and essay writer ever. And of course David Foster Wallace, which is one of the greatest recent American writers.
Okay, very nice. Well, good. Well, I love that we got to talk. Thank you so much. Please continue staying in touch. Thank you for the kind words about the podcast. That means a great deal to me. Often, Carlo, you're just, I'm just talking into a computer screen, and I don't know. I see numbers on a page, but hearing people say that they love the podcast just means the world to me. So thank you for that.
Thank you for this podcast. Actually, I love the format because I love hearing stories from people. Okay, not just talking Bruce, but that's a great format. So congratulations for that.
Thank you so much. In fact, I am going to just take a couple minutes. Why did you become a physicist? What about that led you to, such a strong science and, with a lot of math and a lot of thoughts? What led you to that?
Thank you very much for this question, Jesse. Actually, that comes from I would say, the rational side in myself. I've always been passionate since I was a kid about science, about understanding nature. What's outside? What are stars? What is a drop of water? What's inside that? And really exploring nature is one of the main drivers of all my life. And I think I'm a rational person. I love logic. I love maths, and so that was kind of a natural choice for me to go for physics. And it's one of the choices in my life that I will never regret, and I'm mostly proud of. And I would say that probably art, music, and literature compensate these, let's say, this mathematical part of myself.
I do. I understand totally. Do you miss teaching?
I miss teaching. That's another good question. Yes, because I love teaching. I really love teaching. I still teach sometimes, not to students, but maybe to other professionals. But yes, I definitely miss teaching, because teaching physics is one of the things I love the most. And maybe sometimes I will go back to be a teacher. You never know.
Yeah, I would think, just the few times we've spent together, I would think you'd be a very good teacher. I think your passion comes across, your love of science, your love of, not just physics, but love of literature and love of life would make you a very engaging and insightful teacher. So good for you.
Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate this, Jesse.
Yeah. Well, no, I appreciate it. All right. You stay safe, my friend. Please take care of yourself and your family. Listeners, go get vaccinated. We need to get herd immunity so that we can all get back out on the concert stage and hear our favorite bands perform. Remember to wear a mask. Remember to take care of yourself. And let's all be good to each other, because that's how we're going to get through this. Thank you, Carlo. Thank you, listeners. And we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. How'd you find the podcast?
Because I was looking for a Bruce Springsteen podcast, given my strong passion.
Okay.
There was no Italian podcasts.
Right.
Let me say, there was no Italian podcast, and so I started listening to your podcast, and another great one, that's my other favorite, well, I listen also to Numbered Wave podcast,
Yeah, great
and
one.
the other one that I really love is the one lyric, and that's actually how I discover Set Lasting Bruce.
Okay, good. I will.
Because you've been a host of him, so.
Doing a podcast at times can be a one-way conversation, and I hate that. So please let me know what you like and don't like about the work I'm doing. You can reach the podcast via email at setlistingbruce@gmail.com. The show is on Twitter at setlistingbruce, and my personal Twitter is at jessejacksondfw. We have a website, www.setlistingbruce.com. From there, you can find links to other Springsteen podcasts as well as other music-themed podcasts. We have a page devoted to our own SLB All-Star Band. These are guests who have been on the podcast more than 3 times. There is a link to our store where you can purchase Set Listing Bruce shirts as well as a Mary Question t-shirt. There is a link to our Patreon page where you can sign up to help support the podcast financially. We have different levels and different rewards based on your support. If you don't have any extra cash, and right now who does, you can support the podcast by subscribing via your favorite podcast player and leaving us a review. The more reviews we have, the easier it is for people to find us. And please tell a friend about the podcast, especially if they love Bruce or music, because it will make a difference. You just heard the fun talking, hard rocking, music loving, album ranking, fan thinking, joy spreading, lyric reading, story sharing podcast that is the one, the only Set Listing Bruce. The theme for Set Listing Bruce was written by David Rosen, used by permission.
Can I tell you, because there is no Italian Bruce Springsteen podcast, I tried to start one myself, like a few months ago. I should have mentioned this on the show, honestly.
That's okay.
But actually, I didn't have much time for it.
Okay.
I just did a couple of episodes. My idea would be to do something like your podcast. So invite other people, have a discussion about Bruce Springsteen, because I think that ultimately, rather than talking to, just the host talking about Bruce Springsteen music and its thoughts on it, it's much better to have interaction with other guests and to hear stories, and just like you do. Maybe you could be one of my first hosts.
Love that. All right.
Let me also tell you another thing that I should also have mentioned in the podcast. Anyway, since I work as a data scientist, I started a small project which is like data science for Bruce Springsteen. So I try to analyze Bruce Springsteen lyrics from a statistics perspective, basically.
Oh, interesting.
That's really interesting. I'm having fun about that. I still have to write up like a sort of paper or an article about that. Would you have any advice as to where I can publish that, like to reach the most of people, maybe in the Bruce community?
Yeah, I think first off, when you finish, you need to come back on and we'll talk about some highlights. Like what are some of the things you're reviewing?
So, for instance, very basic stuff, not rocket science.
Right.
For instance, I was looking at what is, just based on the studio albums, what are the most frequent words that he uses. What would you say? What would be your guess? What is the most frequent word?
Well, the most frequent name I would think would be Mary.
Words, not names.
Yeah,
okay.
So
names is something I can do. I can try.
Yeah, I would think. Brother, maybe. Strength. Those Brother, Strength. I
Nope.
Love would be one of the tops because it doesn't seem like he says love a lot. But I'm curious.
Yeah, Love is the second one.
Okay.
The first is Night.
Night. That makes sense because he has so many songs with the title Night.
So many songs about night.
Yeah.
And then on the first places you have Home.
Okay.
He talks a lot about home, and that's good. Home, and then you have Away. The two direction of his music. Getting away from home in the early age, like the early years, and then home. Then he's back home. Actually, he's a Jersey man.
Right, and like he talks about that in Broadway, right? Like all his young songs were about getting away, and then he ends up coming back to his home. And I don't know, you gotten to read Little Steven's book yet?
Not yet.
So Little Steven specifically talks about that from Born to Run was all about escaping, and Darkness, the character became staying there and living your life. And he said that it was a totally change of Bruce's songwriting.
And other analysis that I'm performing is analysis about the richness, the lexical richness of his songs.
Okay.
And clearly, it's the data speak for himself. The early albums are much more rich in lexic, like very large number of words. And also the length analysis about the length of songs. That's also interesting. You can guess how it goes with the years. You can really see the tendency to have shorter songs, and also it's also an indication that the songwriting style has changed during the years. I'm having fun with this.
Yeah, it is. I can't wait to hear. All right, my friend. Thank you. I appreciate it. You have a great night. I will talk to you soon, okay?
Oh, I will.
All right.
Thank you very much, Jesse. It was a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.